Good evening and welcome to this week's Black Mental Health is Black Health. I'm your host, Bronwyn Lucas, and we have a wonderful guest, Darla Gooden. And in a moment, she'll introduce herself. But if you've been here before, you know we always start with a few deep breaths. Why? It allows you to decompress from the day, have that mental woosah, and just calm down and relax. Something that you can do any time of the day when needed. But it helps you focus, it helps you whew, stuff off the cares of the day. So I'm going to count in very slowly to four. And as I count in slowly, you will breathe in slowly. Then I'll say breathe out, and you do the same. We'll do three deep cleansing breaths. Let's get started. Breathe in, two, three, four, out, two, three, four. In, two, three, four, out, two, three, four. One more. In, two, three, four, out, two, three, four. Just 30 seconds to allow yourself to woosah for a moment. How was that for you, darling? Those few deep breaths.
Oh, it's always refreshing.
Awesome. Well, as I said, our guest is Miss Darla Gooden. And Darla, you get to tell us who you are and tell us something cool about you.
Well, of course, my name is Darla Gooden, as you stated. Um, I am a mother of six. I'm divorced. I love people. And the coolest thing about me is I just got came back from London, Rome, and Greece. I've been traveling some parts of Europe, so that's about the coolest thing I can think of right
That is cool. Have you recovered yet?
now. I'm trying. I'm trying. I'm still trying.
Well, I appreciate you being on tonight, even though jet lag is real and you're still there.
hmm
Darla and I are sponsors of a class on forgiveness, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight, which is why I really wanted her here. We are part of an organization founded by Darla, and it's called Hope, Healing Oppressed People Everywhere. And Hope is sponsoring or this class. We are here to get. It's one way to heal is by forgiveness. Darla, could you tell our audience a little about the organization Hope?
Well, Hope started after I've written the book, The Restore the Breach. I moved to Houston, Texas, and I met some powerful, caring professionals. And these are some awesome people that came across and they wanted to bring in, I wanted to add them to what I wanted to do because the book was regarding pedophilia. And I wanted to get a platform built where I can bring in some caring professionals, such as a therapist and people who worked at CPS and um, who worked for the police department, and just bring in people that will be able to provide information to the community so that they can be better protect their families, whatever they were going through, or their children, or how to keep them safe. It's so various different topics that I knew that would impact communities that will foster change for the communities. So that's kind of how Hope came about. We were talking, Bronwyn, myself, and different ones when we were wanting to put together workshops. We just came up with the word Hope, which is Healing Oppressed People Everywhere. That's the acronym for it. And we've been running with that for, oh, Jesus, what is it, about 8, 9 years now, Bronwyn?
Yes, I can't believe
And
it. It's been
so
that long.
that's kind of
Yes.
how it came about. And we wanted to now begin to do even more with that. So that's why we're here tonight to talk about one of the ebooks. We had one that came out in January called The Blueprint for Emotional Healing. And that, of course, that course has since have taken place, and it was really insightful, very good, and very good feedback from those who were participants in that class. However, I wanted to expand a little bit more, and I felt the Lord was pulling us more towards forgiveness because at the end of all of this would be another one on transformation. But I know forgiveness had played a big role in in our lives, and hard for people to get over is when they the word forgiveness, and that's part of how we wanted to put emphasis this time on that. Besides the blueprint for emotional healing, so that's where we are today, and we're encouraging everyone and anyone, of course, to be a part of that. So that's where we are.
So
Sorry,
as
my
she
phone
stated,
I must
we're
turn it off.
okay. As she stated, we are sponsoring a class and we'll give you the details about that. But tonight we're just going to give you a little overview, a little teaser of what you might get in the class. And the whole thing, the class is about forgiveness. So, in the first week, we're going to just talk about defining forgiveness from various points of view. And I'll share some different people's definition of forgiveness when we get to the class. But, Darla, I'll ask you, what is your definition for forgiveness?
Well, my definition is the process of letting go of resentment, anger, and the desire for revenge against someone or someone who has wronged you. And it's a conscious decision. And I always keep saying that it's forgiveness is a decision. And you have to
Mhm.
be conscious about, do I really want to hold on to this? Do I really want to live my life harboring or having a grudge against someone? And sometimes we do that not knowing the ramifications or the impact that it can have on our physical body, our mental, and we had talked about that earlier previously, but it's a big subject, and it's something that you know that you're going to have to deal with on a regular basis because life happens, whether it's children, whether it's our jobs or things that happen on our jobs, whether it's our siblings, whether it's our parents. It's just so many different ways that it can have an impact on you in many different arenas and areas of your life. But I think it's something that, from the most part, I could see where people struggle with that one word.
Mhm.
And it's not like children. Children are so easy because you can hit them, and I mean, they could hit each other and play around, and then they're mad at each other one moment because you hit them. I mean, they hit each other, but it's amazing to me how they can easily let it go and begin to play back
Mhm.
again with each other after they have offended each other. It's
Right.
just really weird how they can let that go and move on. But as adults, it's a little bit more stickier and it's a little bit more harder. And I think we make it much harder than what it is, of course, because we internalize it, and we simmer on it a little bit more. And I talked about that one day that sometimes it's hard to get over something when you keep talking about it.
Mhm.
Sometimes you got to get to the point where after you get through therapy, you got to let it go.
We do. We have to finally move forward. There are there are different views, and in the course, we're going to look at a biblical view, a psychological view, and a medical view of forgiveness. And it's important. And I always talk about the fact that our physical, mental, and spiritual lives are intertwined, and you really can't separate them. And forgiveness impacts all of them. From a medical point of view, according to a doctor at Johns Hopkins, she says there is an enormous physical burden to being hurt and disappointed. Chronic anger puts you into the fight or flight mode, which results in numerous changes in heart rate, blood pressure, and immune response. Those changes then increase the risk of depression, heart disease, diabetes, among other conditions. Forgiveness, however, calms stress levels, leads to improved health. That is a physical health issue that is impacted by forgiveness. From a psychological point of view, forgiveness is willing, this is what the American Psychological Association says. Forgiveness is willfully putting aside feelings of resentment toward an individual who has committed a wrong. been unfair or hurtful, otherwise harmed you in any way. And later on, we'll talk about how, even from that point of view, it impacts your mood, and your depression can be increased with unforgiveness, just as it said with the medical model. And lastly, the biblical view. Forgiveness of others is a fundamental to the gospel. There are numerous Bible verses that address forgiveness. One that I will talk about now is Colossians 3 to 13, which says, "Bear ye each other and forgive one another. If you have a grievance against someone, forgive as the Lord forgave you." It's pretty straightforward. Um, Also, in Matthew, it talks about, forgive when you pray. Many people have heard the Lord's Prayer. Forgive us
Mhm.
as we forgive others. And then you move down in there, it makes it more plain. Lord, you will be forgiven as you forgive. Ouch. You want to be forgiven by the Lord, but and this course is taken from a Christian perspective, but most major world religions talk about forgiveness.
Mhm.
It is essential to any spiritual well-being. So just looking at the definition, that is what forgiveness is all about. And that's how the course looks at it. It looks we really want to address those areas. That's the foundation, um, for forgiveness. So, Darla, have you ever had a situation in which it was difficult to forgive?
I think most people do. We've all had something that makes it very difficult to um, deal with. Of course, as you know, as I've written my book, The Restore the Breach, I had to come up against some things, and there's a lot of playing parts in there that I had to forgive. And when dealing with a pedophile, of course, that was a challenge. But the ultimate challenge, I told you, was trying to forgive myself because of the lack of knowledge. And even though I I didn't do anything wrong, it just was so hard to know that I had these precious children, and under my watch, something like this could happen. Um, when it came to the molestation of the children, of my children, so that was very difficult for me to overcome, and to forgive myself for not knowing, not watching, not being aware. And the way it helped me overcome it was being able to remind myself, even through therapy, that I couldn't be there with my kids 24 hours a day,
Mm-hmm.
that I wasn't the person who committed the crime,
Mm-hmm.
that I was groomed. Sometimes our minds play tricks on us, and it makes us think about other things that that will cause us to, to put us in a place where we feel defeated. But the good thing is that I had a great support system, and I had people around me at some time at different times to remind me that we're nobody's perfect,
Mm-hmm.
and things do happen, but it's how we deal with the situation and how we allow ourselves to process through all of that and being able to understand what was really true. And what was true was this person needed to take the blame and not me.
Right. Right.
And so when you finally can get there and you accept that, then you know that healing now begins to take place.
Mm-hmm. And in talking about that, you really highlighted the whole concept of self forgiveness, which is something we also will cover in this course in the third week. When we often think of forgiveness, so often people don't think, "Oh, I got to forgive me."
Hmm.
And that's why I said it can be the hardest, because you're the only person you with 24/7.
Right,
So every thought, even with the person who is the offender. You don't know their background. You don't know what led them to it. Not that sometimes you don't even care because what they did was so egregious, but you don't know. But
right,
you know yourself.
right.
And so it's hard. Like you say, there's a guilt. For those of you who don't know, Darla, book, Restore the Breach, which can, shameless plug here for you, which I believe you can get on Amazon and probably other platforms. But it chronicles the story of her children who were molested by the youth minister at their church. It is not salacious detailed, it is a story of healing. And forgiveness had to take place in order for her to get to this point, including forgiveness of herself. I mean, as parents, there are a lot of things that we can feel guilty for. That was a major issue. But even as parents, there are things, if your children aren't where you want them to be, or something has happened, you can assume guilt. And sometimes we assume guilt is not even ours.
Mhm. That's
Just as
right.
you said, you were groomed for the abuse. A pedophile doesn't just, this is just a side note, a pedophile doesn't just groom the child.
Right.
The parent can be groomed as well, because a parent has
Absolutely.
to be groomed in order to allow them access to the child.
Absolutely.
And it's which is a weight reason you can not want to forgive yourself. But yeah, it was grooming. And
Right.
so we get caught up in saying, "Oh, I can't believe I did that. I can't forgive myself for doing that." But mm, um, one reason that we do, I think, forgiveness is so important is when you don't forgive, that person has some control over you. I'll explain what I mean, and then Darla, I'll ask you if you agree or disagree with my concept. So my concept is this: if there is somebody who has wronged you, they hurt you, whether it's a little hurt or whether it's a major hurt, but they wronged you and you still feel it. And every time you think about that person, maybe it's, oh, I just can't stand them. Or, oh, every time I see them, I get upset again. Or, oh, I just get so angry. Why? Because, ooh, their face is on TV. When that happens, you could have been in a great mood and you see them, you think about them, somebody mentions them, and you get angry again. They have control over your mood because your mood changes at the thought of their name, at the sight of them, or maybe just seeing a car that they, they drove that blue Cadillac, and I saw a blue Cadillac just like this, and I got mad all over the because it reminded me of them. Well, when that happens, they're controlling your mood.
Mm-hmm.
Should someone who hurt you, should your offender have any control over you? No. Forgiveness allows you to take that control back. They don't deserve it. So that's my theory about control and forgiveness. Darla, what do you think?
Well, you're right there on it. That's why I want people to take this course because Bronwyn is phenomenal at teaching this. I'm telling you, she's the best therapist there is.
Oh, well, thank you.
But what I always tell her, forgiveness is a process. I'm not trying to say everything that happened to me and I let go and instantly. No, it was a process. But I was willing to allow myself to understand that I could not stay with anger and resentment against anyone. So I had to allow myself, even if it was internalized that it was about me forgiving me, I needed to work through that because I knew that it's taking something from me. If it's not doing anything but physically dealing with my health or the relationships that I had with other people, um, it can mess you up. And my thing is, you're right. No one deserves that much power. You're giving the power over you. And no one deserves that much power when it comes to you. You are important. You matter. And your well being matters. For me, losing sleep, I cannot go to lose sleep over anybody anymore because I have to work through it. I want to walk in power, but you got to get your power back. And every
Mhm.
time you allow yourself to be angry and them to pull that from you, what you're saying to them is, you can have my power. No,
Mhm.
your power belongs to you. And that power you have to stand in. And so we don't always look at the aspects of what the harm that it does to us. And what I like about this course is going to bring you into that. It's going to bring you into things that you don't even think about and how it's going to have been impacting you. But you're going to get free. And this course is designed for you to walk in that level of freedom and get back your power.
Well, thank you for those kind words a few minutes ago. I want to give you, we're going to talk about in the class some of the hindrances to forgiveness. And I want to bring up maybe just two of them. And one of them is that I want to hold on to my anger. I want to remember and never forget. I want to point this out. There is a concept of forgive and forget. And man, I want to really break that down. Forgive and forget is a profoundly misguided concept because what we
Mm-hmm.
think of is that, oh, I just got to forgive it, forget it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, from a technical scientific point of view, we really don't ever forget totally because that's why I think about someone who may have some forms of dementia and they can remember things from long, long ago. Maybe not what happened 5 minutes ago, but from
Right.
15 years ago,
They
because those
remember.
thoughts are there. They're implanted in your brain. It is written in your brain and it doesn't get erased. What you forget is the emotional connection in terms of the emotional hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And some people say, "Well, I need to hold on to my hurt so I'll never let it happen again." Holding on to that hurt, as we said from a medical point of view, is eating away at you.
Right.
Yes, you do need to remember. You need to know who that abuser is.
Right.
I don't if that especially if that person may maybe it wasn't even physical or sexual or emotional abuse, but it's something and that person is still in your life on the fringes. You need to know I got to keep a safe distance from you.
Mm-hmm.
Forgiveness also does not mean that that person is going to be in your life. I
Right.
can forgive you
Right.
and I'm going to keep you over there. You're
Right.
not going to be in my life. Forgiveness does not mean I give you the right to still be in my life because some
Absolutely.
things are so egregious that a person does not need to be in your life. In the case of sexual abuse, yes, we want that person to be behind
Mm-hmm.
bars, but there's
Absolutely.
emotional abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And there are
Absolutely.
people who have, and emotional abuse really is just as devastating.
Oh,
There are levels
absolutely.
of emotional abuse that is just as devastating, but the person's not going to go to jail for that. But
Mm-hmm.
either way, you have been harmed. So if this person is still in your life, is still around, they may not need a place in your life. Doesn't mean that you don't forgive them. I forgive you,
Yeah,
but I'm taking back my control and my power, and I don't have to have you interacting with me daily.
absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So that's, so that forgive and forget. And for some people, they don't want to forgive because forgive and forget is so intertwined in our
Mm-hmm.
society that they feel like, if, well, no, I don't want to forget. But as I said, I encourage you to forgive the pain, forget the
Mm-hmm.
pain, let
Mm-hmm.
go of the pain. You might need to remember so you don't go down that same road.
Right.
If you were driving your
Absolutely.
car and, oh man, I'm going to take this right turn, and you take this right turn and it leads you down a dark, dead end alley, you need to
Mm-hmm.
remember not to go down, turn right at that intersection again.
Absolutely. And
Um, go on.
and it's so true because one thing I do believe is you can't have selective amnesia.
Hmm.
You can't. I want to remember the bad, but I also don't want to. I forgive you, but I remember the bad enough to say I got to keep going. I'm not gonna. That part I gotta keep going. I'm not gonna just say, well, I forgive you, and we're gonna come back to this.
Right.
No, some things you cannot go back to. You have to know that you have to keep going and moving your life forward.
And that is a key. Moving forward, allowing yourself to move forward. Um, and that's where the forget and the forgive comes in. I'm not going to be bound by what happened. I'll quickly mention one more of the things, and in the class we'll delve even deeper. And this is, I want them to apologize. They did me wrong. Um, what if you never get an apology?
Right.
What if they don't feel they did anything wrong? What
Absolutely.
if the person is deceased?
Absolutely.
So
What do you
holding
do?
on to the need for an apology may not happen.
May not
And what do
happen.
you do? What do you do then, Darla? You don't get no apology.
Well, for me, if they even if they don't apologize, one of the things is I've let go again the word power. I've taken my power back and I continue to move my life forward. I don't want to harbor any resentment in my heart for anyone. The grace that God has given me when He forgave me for the things that I've done is the same grace I give back to someone else. I want to live my life knowing that I am free from any anger, any resentment, and the desire to seek revenge. Vengeance is mine, said the Lord. He said He will repay. And one thing I do believe about life, whatever you sow, you will reap. And we don't always think about that. But whatever that person sown or whatever you may have sown, you reap that. So my thing is, I want to get back into that safe place of life of freedom. And I don't want anyone to have power over me. So whatever I need to do to work on my heart, even if it means me not talking about it, because some things I just, to me, for me to get over it, I can't keep talking about it over and over again. I gotta let it go. Somewhere I gotta stop talking about it because I want to walk in that freedom that
Hmm.
Christ has already given to me. And I want to continue to know that just like I give that grace, somebody's going to give that grace back to me. I want someone to forgive me as well because I'm not perfect and I'm subject to error. But I want to be conscious of that. And that's what helps me to forgive, knowing that I'm human, I blow it too, but I want someone to forgive me as well.
And I'll just throw this out. In the course, you'll learn about decisional forgiveness and emotional forgiveness. I'm not going
Hmm.
to tell you now. You got to find out later.
Right.
Um, so let's tell them how they can sign up for this class. We have a platform, PayHip, and I will have to drop the link. I'll have it on the Facebook page. Where you're currently watching this. We'll have it up tomorrow. If you are listening to this or watching this, you can message on Facebook or you can call 682 272 3949. That's 682 272 3949, and you can get information. Even easier, you can go to ablecc.org, ablecc.org, and look for the upcoming events tab. And yeah, it'll have a little sheet for you to fill out. That's really probably the easiest way. Just go to ablecc.org and we'll send you the information you need. Before I give my final call to action, Darla, do you have any final comments you want to make?
Oh, absolutely. You do not want to miss this class on forgiveness. And when I say Bronwyn Lucas is fabulous, woo, the class is that good. I'm telling you, you need to be in the room. You do not want to miss this because the Lord would not have brought this to me if He did not want you to be a part of this. This is to liberate you and set you free. This is the work that we do because we love you so much that we don't want to see or know that you're not walking in the wholeness that God requires for all of us. So please take a look at where you are, look at what's happening in your life. And if you're challenged with that word forgiveness, I encourage you to come into the room and allow the Lord to minister to you through myself and also the main person I'm talking about, and that's Ron Lucas.
Well, thank you. Again, thank you for those kind words. And I'm going to use her closing remarks as my call to action. Join our class. And I always have to say vote, vote, vote. Be an
Mm-hmm.
educated voter, not just in a presidential election, any election that is in your city, be an educated voter. But we are in a presidential election year. So be aware, make informed decisions. I am Bronwyn Lucas, the Black Couch Therapist, here to help you become a better you. For more information, once again, go to ablecc.org. That's ablecc.org. See you next week and really hope to see you in our class. Oh, by the way, it is virtual. I didn't say
Mm-hmm.
that. It is virtual. It starts this third Tuesday in June, which is June 21st, and it goes for 4 weeks. We'll see you then. Bye now.
Bye bye.